Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here with me in my virtual kitchen for another exciting cooking class. Today is very special because one of you gave me a challenge, and I am cooking including three ingredients specifically: apples, cinnamon, and chicken. We're going to have a dessert as well, but without the chicken. I could have actually. There is an apple pie kind of thing. It's sweet and sour, but in reality, for me, dessert does not include chicken. So I'm going to make those two dishes, one using chicken and one using apple and cinnamon. So I am Chef Dulce Jimenez, and I focus on teaching you how to cook for optimal health with minimum oils, minimum salt, real ingredients, and make with much love at home. This class is sponsored by Healthy Mothers, Healthy Babies for their Moms for Wellness program, but is available for everyone. It's a public class that is going to be posted on my YouTube channel at Chef Dulce Jimenez 7108. If you're watching in the YouTube channel, I usually post one of the recipes in the comments, but you can send me an email and I will send you the entire package with all the recipes. Although usually I only have time for one or two recipes, I include more recipes for you to make with apples and cinnamon and chicken. So you have more variety. So the recipe today, the first one we're going to start is with a apple and zucchini bread. It's delicious. It has vegetables. It has a lot of fiber. It can be fantastic with your latte in the mornings, or you can have it as a dessert. You can put some whipped cream or ice cream and make it a little bit more decadent and have it as a dessert. But I like my desserts low in sugar, and that's what I like about this, and I like it with fiber. Zucchini has a lot of water and a lot of fiber. That's the first thing we're going to start working on the zucchini. So I have shredded zucchini. When you're working with zucchini, wash it very well. I never take the peel because there is a lot of nutrients between the peel and the actual zucchini. So I wash it very well. I scrub it with the brush. I put some spray with could be lemon juice or vinegar. This I wash it with vinegar, and then I'm gonna shred it the larger holes, so like such, until you have a whole cup. These are going to be quite big strands. However, the zucchini is mostly water. So when you put everything together and you squeeze it, we're going to squeeze it now to take the water out. They become very little. So you should use the larger holes in your grater. Okay. And every time you're baking with zucchini, you have to let it cook a longer time and let it rest a longer time. So the bad thing about this bread or cake, I'll call it like a coffee cake because this will go delicious with your coffee. You know that when I didn't know better, I thought coffee cake was a cake made with coffee. And I always said, no, I don't like that. I don't like that cake because I don't like anything, any dessert with coffee. I want my coffee just for my latte. Uh, it's coffee cakes refers to any cake that goes fantastic with coffee. Now I know. So anyway, so I was saying, when you grate the zucchini, the most important part is to Squeeze the water. You will see this. This is crazy. Look at all the water that's going to come from this zucchini. So you need to squeeze this very well. You can do it with a lint-free towel that you haven't washed with a lot of detergent and stuff. So that's why I'm doing it with paper towel. I don't use a lot of paper towel just when it's really, really necessary. But in this case, I don't want to put some softener or detergent in my zucchini. So you see, I have squeezed it once, and I think I'm gonna have to do it again because I really, really don't want this with water in my cake. Okay, look at this paper, completely wet. I'm gonna do it one more time. And sure. Wow, look at this. Still coming out. Okay, that's good. I'm putting an aluminum foil. I make less mess. I don't want to be making messes. Then you just have to throw this away. So this is the water. Water. Going to put the zucchini in my bowl. Might as well. Put my zucchini around. That's a cup of zucchini, well drained. Okay, let's set aside the zucchini. Now, let's work on the dry ingredients. Okay, I'm going to put the dry ingredients of the zucchini bread. Very simple. Regular flour. You can use gluten-free flour, but you have to almost double the amount of time that you cook the cake, the bread. I usually don't like it gluten-free. It's one of the few recipes that I don't do gluten-free. How do you measure flour? I'm going to repeat this again. I always like to measure flour with you, camera. Flour is measured in spoonfuls. So you put spoons of flour in your cup, and you have to use a dry measuring cup. Or if you have a digital food scale, much better. Then you do it by grams, which is the most accurate way to measure your dry ingredients. So now I'm gonna level up about 3 or 4 times. I'm just gonna level the flour. I'm not gonna do this in the cup. That I level it, that's it. That's 1 cup of flour. Now I need half a cup. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna measure my half a cup. I'm gonna grab a little bit of the one left there. I'm gonna level the cup about 3 to 4 times. That's it. 1.5 cup of flour. Now, another dry ingredient is the leavening, which is baking powder and salt. 1 teaspoon. 1 teaspoon of baking powder. this because this help you measure it. 1 teaspoon, and is half a teaspoon of salt. Half a teaspoon of salt. Make sure you always measure the salt correctly because that will make it or break a cake. Believe it or not, that little bit of salt make a big difference. Your cake may not be able to base in the oven if you don't put the salt. Okay, now we're going to put one of the ingredients that I was asked to use, which is cinnamon. I'm going to put about half a teaspoon of cinnamon. Okay. And you always mix it well. Mix it because you want all those dry ingredients to combine well. Okay. Ingredients. Make sure that the baking powder and the flour and the salt are well combined. Okay. Now, I'm going to prepare my pan with a little bit of oil and spray, which I already did. And I'm going to put a little bit of the flour that was left in my aluminum foil. The flour also helps for the cake not to get soft. And I'm going to turn it over and take out the excess. But before I want to waste my flour, I'm going to put whatever was left back. This is why I love the aluminum foil because it's so easy. I'm going to take out the excess. And I'm going to also add parchment paper. This is parchment paper that is unbleached because I don't want bleach in my food. Unbleached, and I'm going to put one on the side and one long way because that way will help you get the cake out of the mold. And again, believe it or not, I'm going to put spray it again because this cake, as I said, is very moist. And I want to be able to get it out. Okay, so now I have my pan ready, my mold, and I'm going to put that aside and turn my oven on at 350 so it gets hot before I finish mixing all the ingredients. So actually I'm going to add the sugar with the flour. There's two methods of doing this kind of coffee cake. You can make the sugar with the liquid ingredients or with the dry ingredients. Some recipes will call different way. I prefer to mix the sugar with the wet ingredients, but in this case, because the ingredients are very wet, that's like the zucchini and the apples, so I'm going to put it in the flour. Okay, so and we need about a bit of a cup. I try to put less sugar, so this goes with 3/4. 3/4 is almost a whole cup, but I'm going to put half a cup. Okay, so half a cup, and it also goes with brown sugar. Brown sugar also is more moist than regular sugar. I'm using here cane sugar, organic. 1/4 of a cup brown sugar, half a cup of regular cane sugar. We're going to use a little bit more sugar in the crumble. That's why I'm reducing the amount of sugar of the batter for about 1/4 of a cup. Okay, I'm going to mix it again. Okay, mix. Now, this is the cool part. Where's my apples? Where are my apples? Oh, they're here. Okay, here are my apples. I have this beautiful Gala apple. They're organic. I'm going to keep the skin with my apples. I'm not going to peel it because you have a lot of nutrients in the skin and it's more fiber. I'm going to cook the apples slightly with a little bit of the sugar. This out. There. Just a cup of apple. They're minced. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna put a little of butter. And in low heat, I'm going to cook my apples. Okay, I was supposed to do this apple first, so they get colder or cool off while I was doing the other ingredients, but it's okay. You need to make excuses in the kitchen. Things happen to the best of us. I'm gonna put cinnamon, which is one of the key ingredients, with more of the butter. I'm just going to saute the apples in a low heat until they're softened. I'm going to put a little bit of my brown sugar. Know where I put it. I'm going to put about one teaspoon. This is half, so I'm going to put 2 teaspoons of brown sugar in my apple. Oh, they smell delicious like apple pie. Oh, that's so good. I have a cool cover. But while this cooks, I'm going to teach you how I like to cut my apples. So I have the apple here, apple. The way I do it is I go and cut it around. I want the way it's easier. So I'm gonna cut it in little slices. I slice it, avoiding the core, around the core, and then the corners. So you see, this is the core. Now I'm gonna make on this knife. Let me see it. On this knife, I'm going to make small bites. Okay. I first look how cold they're perfect. Okay. I needed how many? It's about a cup. So once I slice it, very simple to make little dices. I'm going to double this recipe today because tomorrow I have a party to go. I'm going to bring zucchini cake or the zucchini bread. The zucchini coffee cake. Wow. Oh, it smells so good. Oh, really, really good. Oh, delicious. I'm using Gala apples. These are organic. I always buy organic apples. There's certain things I always use organic. Apple is one of them. So, because you are cooking it a little bit before putting it in the batter, and then you're baking it, it doesn't matter what kind of apple you use. Actually, you want to use an apple that is um, sweeter. If you use granny smith, which is the green one, it's very hard. So you want, because this is going with zucchini, which is a vegetable, and we're putting less sugar in the batter. So you want an apple that gives you plenty of sugar. And the Gala, the red Gala apple, or it could be Fuji, or it could be Red Delicious, it could be one of those. Um, the seed doesn't matter. Plus, it's not very, very small. So you can see these are very tiny. So, and it's going to be cooked first, and then it's cooked again in the oven with a cake. So you will not be feeling actually the skin. Okay. So now I'm going to put it in the freezer so it's cool off while I mix the rest of the ingredients. Okay. Now I'm going to mix the wet ingredients. Okay. So the wet ingredients is half a cup of milk, by organic, 2%, 1/3 of a cup of vegetable oil, and I'm using avocado oil. I only use avocado, coconut cook, and olive oil or with raw or very lightly cooking, but very lightly. Then I'm going to put 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Sorry, cinnamon. This is vanilla. What am I talking about? We already put cinnamon in the dry ingredients. And the twigs. Okay? Twigs. This recipe could be done without the egg and using almond milk. I have not tried it, but I have seen recipes that you can make it vegan by making flax seed eggs and adding other ingredients that will bind the cake or the bread, like applesauce to bind it. We can add sour cream sometimes. But honestly, zucchini is so watery that I don't like the texture when I don't add the eggs into the mix. That's why I personally prefer doing this one with eggs, the way the recipe is called. I'm getting colder or cool off in the freezer. I'm going to do the crumble that we're going to put on top. I said before, I think you can have the option to put a crumble or to put a lemon glaze, up to you. I'm gonna make both. I may not put both in the cake, but I'm gonna make both, and I have the option. So how do you make a crumble? Crumble is like sugar, flour, and butter that is crumbling on top of cakes or Oh my God, what else? Like crisps or some pies has a crumble on top. So that's an equal part of sugar with equal part of flour. And so I'm going to mix the sugar and the flour. They're going to, and this is brown sugar. It's about 3/4 of a cup brown sugar and three quarters of a cup of flour. So it has to be kind of the same amount, and you can see that it's starting to get like sandy, like more grainy, right? So this is a lot of crumble. So I might do half of this. I'm mixing the flour and the sugar. And you can see the texture change. Maybe you cannot see it so well with the camera, but now I'm going to put, yeah, that's a lot. I'm going to reduce the amount. I'm not going to put that much. I'm going to say. Now, the butter, this is unsalted butter. And you want the butter to be very cold. And it's about an eyeball in this one because I already changed the amount. So I'm going to look at the texture. It's going to be like wet sand kind of texture. I'm going to put this little cubes of water. And actually, this is a very easy cake or, coffee cake to make once you have the ingredients and you're not talking, explaining to somebody else how to do it, right? Because you cook the apples, shred the zucchini, mix all the dry ingredients, then mix all the wet ingredients, and that's it. And you put it in the oven. Now I'm going to mix the butter until this resembles a crumble, like wet sand. You don't want to make a dough. So a dough is more, like the mixture will become like a pasty. You don't want pasty, you want crumbly. And you can do this with your two hands. Okay. This is cool because it's going to be golden brown on top of the cake, and it's gonna give another texture. It's gonna give a little bit more sweetness. So it's up to you. What do you put on top? Maybe you don't even put anything on top. There's a day that you just want your cake in the oven quick. You don't put anything on top. You don't even make the glaze. And it's okay too. Because this is a really nice coffee cake. Okay, so, oh, I can start seeing the crumble. See? That's so cool. That's so cool. Tiny bit more butter. This is not a healthy recipe. If you're gonna eat a lot of it, the only thing that is healthy is because it has a lot of fiber It has fresh apple, fresh zucchini. You're making it at home with good ingredients. But it has flour, it has butter, it has sugar. You can reduce the amount of sugar. Yes, you can do all that. But still, it's not a diet recipe. Just because it's organic and it has vegetable doesn't mean it's a diet recipe. So if you eat the whole loaf by yourself, that's not healthy. Yeah. And it's crumble. This is not a scramble. This is crumble. Like a crumb. Like crumbs when you're eating bread and the crumbs comes out. So that's exactly the texture that you want. Yeah. Crumb. Exactly like that. That's a great similar or example. Yes. So it is crumbly. Now it's like crumble. Yeah. Oh, now it's fantastic. A little bit more of the sugar. See, now you spread this on top of the cake, and that brown sugar and butter is going to melt and it's going to get golden brown and it's going to get crispy and yeah, it's gonna be awesome. If you're watching this in YouTube, and yes, all my cooking classes are recorded, fast forward. Feel free to fast forward because my classes are a little longer because I like to teach you things and not just make a recipe. I want to teach you things, how to make things. You know, you can find a lot of recipes on YouTube and anywhere that are quick and easy. Mine, you're going to learn a little bit more, and you can fast forward and go to those chapters. If you're making, say, you're just making the cake, you're not making the next recipe, you just go straight to the recipe that you want, and you look at the chapters. And on YouTube, you can have that option. Okay. So let me wash my hands and get the apple out of the freezer. Okay, so I have my full and cooked apples already done. And I have my zucchini here that I already um, squeezed the water. I have my dry ingredients, which is the flour and the sugar, the salt and all that. I'm gonna make a hole in the middle. In the center, I'm going to mix the wet ingredients, which is milk and eggs and oil. I'm gonna mix it in the middle. Like when you're doing pasta, oh my God, can you see? Let me move all this thing. So here's my mixture. Now, I'm going to fold in. Folding. Folding is not doing this. Folding is folding. Right? I'm folding it over. Why it makes a difference? Because when you mix the flour vigorously, it creates more gluten and becomes harder. So you should not, some cakes are very um, delicate, so you don't want to mix it too hard. So I'm just folding the batter. Okay, this is folding. You get a spatula and you fold. Once I have folded several times, now I'm going to add my apples and cool. They have to be cold. And my zucchini. Going to strain again. Still coming water. And zucchini is awesome because it doesn't have any flavor. So whatever flavor we put, that's what you're gonna taste. And it gets lighter when you add zucchini to your cakes or your breads, your cookies, any dessert. But the trick is that you have to get all that water out and you have to cook it longer. And sometimes it's tricky. Sometimes people have trouble when they get the cake out of the oven, the cake is like falling apart. So those are the things that you have to be careful when you work with zucchini. Now, I have all my ingredients here and I'm gonna cook it again. Carefully. So although this is a coffee cake, it's not very sweet. You can bump the sugar with the crumble, the glaze, keeping the amount of sugar that the recipe calls for. In this case, I cut the recipe for a quarter of a cup, which I usually do in all my recipes. Okay, so I'm folding. I'm getting like all the flour from the bottom and the corners. See, when you fold, you can find some flour in the bottom. That's okay. Fold, fold, and fold. Okay, now I'm going to put the batter in my prepared pan with my oil and the vinegar. Wow, it's gonna be amazing. This is one of my favorite coffee cakes. Light is flavorful. Like, you can make it every week and always have it there for your tea or your coffee. If you have guests, you always have something to serve them. Okay, now take the air out. You do this in all your cakes or baking. You're going to spread your batter. Okay, and clean. Now, butter in here. I'm going to put the crumble on top. I knew it was too much. Some recipes are like that. Some recipes, I have the recipe, but then I follow my intuition. So you want to cover all the cake with your crumble. It's gorgeous. You have it. Now we're going to bake it for almost an hour, 50 minutes. And while the bake cake, the cake bakes, we're going to make the chicken and apple recipe. It's going to be creamy and delicious. So my apple and zucchini cake or bread is in the oven. I'm gonna make a glaze. So how you make glaze is powdered sugar. Powdered sugar is just sugar that has been completely refined to make it a powder. So, and it's awesome because you can make glaze, you can make, oh my God, those things that you put on top of the cake. What's going on with me? Frosting. Oh, Jesus. Frosting. So simple glaze, you can make any flavor. I like lemon glaze. Why? Because the sugar is very sweet and the lemon gives this tanginess. So you have that awesome combination. And when you make it, is just mixing it until you have a glaze. I have lemon juice, fresh squeezed lemon juice with sugar and a little bit of apple cider. Of course, it's for our apple cake. It has to be very thick, be a glaze. So I think I put a little, too little of the sugar. I don't do this with recipes because honestly, I do it eyeballing. It's usually a whole cup of sugar and a few tablespoons of liquid. I put a lot of liquid. I have to put more sugar. Oh, now it's getting like a glaze. And then you just mix it until all the sugar is mixed into it. But I have a very bad container. I'm gonna get a bigger container so I can mix it with yeah, better. Okay. I'm mixing here. Now it's better. Now I have a bowl. Um, lemon juice, fresh squeezed lemon juice, a little bit of apple cider, and a lot of powdered sugar. Create this glaze. You see, I have to mix it until the sugar is completely mixed. See, now you have this glaze that you just put it on top. You can make it a little bit more um, thick in viscosity, but I am not going to continue putting sugar, a lot of sugar. So this is a glaze. And you put it when the cake is out of the oven. It's getting cool off. I usually wait. Let me try this. It's very sweet. You can still taste the lemon. Okay, so let's continue. This is the second recipe, the more savory or the savory recipe, which is chicken, a chicken breast. I'm going to use two chicken breasts that you can have a big chicken breast and cut it in half horizontally, or two and then cut it in half. But basically, this is one thick chicken breast that I have cut horizontally, so it makes two portions. If you make two, it's going to give you four portions. The same apples I'm using for the bread that we're baking, and vegetables. So I'm using what I have in the refrigerator. I have asparagus, spinach, onion, apples, chicken, apple cider, some cream, apple juice. You will see how delicious this is. So I'm going to start cutting the apples in wedges. And again, I'm keeping my apple skin about a 1/4 inch thick. Now, always have a bag of apple. When you store apples, you should store them away from everything else because the apple will ruin the rest of your vegetables. So I usually keep it covered in the back of my refrigerator or outside in the counter. If it's a small bag, I keep them outside. If it's a bigger bag, I put it in the fridge. Because I love to eat my apples cold or snacking. I'm cutting maybe 1.5 wedges for easy. And then put it like that. The chunks around the core. And then you cut it in wedges. Here I have a lot of the core. Then from there, because I have two, I'm looking, I think that's enough. Actually, I'm gonna leave this one. Reduce mine tomorrow. I'm going to use a combination of avocado oil and butter for this recipe. I'm going to start cooking my apples first. So in this case, I'm cooking the apple. This is a savory preparation. I'm going to cook the apples with butter, low heat, soften them. I'm going to season them with salt and pepper. The previous one that we did, we seasoned it with brown sugar with a little bit of butter as well. Season this with salt and pepper. Apple. Okay. I'm cooking the apple and I'm putting a little bit of the sauce, cooking stock. I have cooking stock in here, apple cider. I don't want my apples to burn, get too dry. I just want them to cook, just soften them a little bit. And I season it with a little bit of salt and pepper and just get them out. I don't want my apples mushy. I want to cook them before I put the chicken. Okay. Okay, so let my apple there. Turn this off. Work the chicken. Okay, so I'm going to now cook the chicken, but before I cook it, I'm going to bread it. It's not breading it, it's dreading it a little bit with flour. I'm going to season my chicken with salt and pepper. And before I put it in the pan, I'm going to pass it lightly in the flour. That will help me create a better sauce. Okay? I'm also going to season my flour. Double season it. And mix it with salt and pepper. Now I season one side of the chicken. I'm going to season the other side. Using one hand of the chicken and the other hand the rest that I'm doing. You want to put a handful of chicken in your salt. I'm going to put the rest of the butter. And I'm going to pass the chicken in the flour. I'm going to make sure it doesn't have excess flour. And I'm going to put the chicken in water. Okay? Again, this one. What now? Salt, pepper, a bit in the flour. Take the excess out. Put it in my pan. Okay. Take this out. I'm going to put a little bit of avocado oil. Okay. Now we're just going to cook it a few minutes on one side and then the other side. Then we're going to take it out and I'm going to build the sauce, add more vegetables. Meal that you can easily do during the weeknight. This is actually simple. It's just cooking your chicken breasts in a sauce, the apples and any vegetables like spinach and asparagus, what I'm going to use now. You want to use zucchini because zucchini is very watery and it's going to water your sauce. And the sauce, you make it with that flavor that is in the pan. And with apple cider, you can use apple juice, chicken sauce, thyme. Now we're going to cook some onions and just give it a little bit of color on both sides. And when you don't want your food to burn, just add a little bit of chicken stock. Don't keep adding oil. This is what people do. You don't want to keep adding oil. You want it to burn. You see that it's burning. We're creating a fond, which is this flavor in the bottom. So we're going to make this amazing sauce. Okay? We're going to fully cook the chicken breast with the sauce. So it is just now to feel that flavor and give it a little bit of color. But this is not a dish that your chicken will have a lot of color because it's a white sauce. This is a nice recipe for Valentine's Day that is coming up. It looks like you spend a lot of time in the kitchen, but you're not. You can. If you're gonna do the apples the day before, you can have the apples and cook it the day before and leave it in your refrigerator. Okay. I'm going to take the chicken out. I'm going to put a little bit of chicken stock. I'm going to put all that flavor there. I'm going to put onions. Oh, what's happening? I'm going to cook about half an onion. An onion. And I will season as we go. Every time you're putting different ingredients, you may have to season. Like we season the apples, now we're going to season the onions. We season the chicken, and we're going to add dry thyme. Remember, when you're working with dry herbs, you must crush it in your hands, activate the oils. You can use fresh thyme or dry thyme. I love thyme for this recipe. It gives a lot of flavor. This is a delicious, delicious recipe. And you can make it with farro. Farro is like rice. It's an ancient grain. Actually, that's what I'm going to make it with today. This is an ancient grain that I cooked. I have two cameras. One of them is a close-up for the food. So if you're watching this on a phone, if you're live with me here, look for the camera that has the food. So this is like, looks like oats, but it's farro. It's full of fiber and nutrients. Again, it's an ancient grain or ancient grain. More nutrient, has more nutrient than rice and brown rice. And you can cook it like pasta and then we cook it with vegetables and onions and a little bit of olive oil. Cooking onions with the thyme. It smells so delicious. Amazing. So now I'm going to add about 2 cups, a little less than 2 cups of apple cider and chicken broth that I have cooked or boiled first with a stick of cinnamon. So we have apple, cinnamon, and chicken in this recipe. So you just boil. I did it out of camera to save time. I boiled the chicken broth with the cinnamon and then I mixed it with the apple cider and I took the cinnamon stick out. Okay, so now I'm going to let this boil. I'm going to of the heat. I'm going to just let it come to a boil. Okay, and then I'm going to add the vegetables and the chicken and then cream. It goes with cream. That's why it's so decadent. Then at the end, I'm going to add apple cider vinegar and the apples. Okay? I'm gonna let it cook until the chicken no longer pink. About 10, 15 minutes, 10, 12 minutes. You don't want to dry your chicken breast. That's why I like this as a weeknight meal because you can make it fast chicken breast. Okay, it's boiling. I'm going to add chicken, the juices. Okay. I'm going to let it cook for about 10 minutes. So my cake is going up beautifully. Look at the crumble on top. It's amazing. I'm going to cover it with aluminum foil and put it back for about 10 to 15 minutes again. It has been 40 minutes in the oven. So while my chicken is cooking for those 10 minutes, I'm going to quickly saute the farro. I don't want to put more oil in the farro. I'm going to put a little bit of chicken stock. I'm going to cook a little bit of onions. This is the side dish what I'm going to eat with the chicken. Okay, the same amount while the chicken is cooking. Minutes. I'm going to add onions. I have some peppers in here. Give it some color. You always want color, right? In your food. I always love colorful dishes. Okay. Season it. Salt, pepper. I'm going to put a little bit of thyme. Give that flavor combination. This is very simple. You don't want anything that apple dish, apple chicken dish. Don't need a side dish that has a lot of flavor. Just want some color and some flavor. That's it. Let this evaporate. Then we're gonna add the flour and we're gonna add some dill and chives because always, I add green and fresh herbs, and you add those herbs at the end of the food. If you have this ingredient already chopped in your refrigerator, and you can cook the farro and keep it for meal planning. The farro can last 4 days in the fridge, or you can even freeze it and use it when you need it. Farro is a grain that I recommend. You can have it for breakfast, you can have it for dinner, lunch. It's really good dish. Good grain, I'm sorry. To make in any dish you want. I'm mixing now the farro, the vegetables. Okay. It's like a rice pilaf. That word we don't use it anymore. But you can put a little bit of garlic powder. Again, you want a mild flavor to let the chicken shine. Okay. Now I'm gonna add some dill. It is very strong, so you have to put very little. I wash my herbs with water, cold water and vinegar. Take out any um, bacteria, anything you don't want in your herbs. And I'm gonna chop the dill. Dill and apples go really well. This is for the side dish, which is the avocado with herbs. I'm gonna add some. I'm gonna add a little bit of chives because the chive goes with the chicken. I'm gonna add a little bit so it complements the chicken. And the fresh herbs, I have it off. The fresh herbs you add it at the end of cooking. You don't want the herbs to be all dead. You put them at the end, fresh herbs. The dry herbs, you put it at the beginning of cooking. Okay? This is good. Look how beautiful. How much color. And this is okay. It's just simple to absorb the fat of the chicken. We're going to plate it here. See it? You can see it here. Okay. Usually these recipes tells you to put more butter in the pan to cook the avocado and to cook the vegetables, but don't because you have plenty of butter and in the chicken. Wow, this is so beautiful. So beautiful it is. Awesome. Now let's finish the chicken. So the chicken has been cooking in the sauce for 10 minutes. I'm going to finish the chicken. I'm going to add asparagus tips. I have asparagus in my refrigerator all the time. I just cook it in salted water for 2 minutes. It's perfect. Oh. I'm going to add the spinach. You know? I'm going to add the cream. This is a very cool dish for Valentine's Day. Now, finishing the sauce, the vegetables. Putting the vegetables in here. Side. That's the bread. one finish and taste it. Wow, look how creamy and delicious. When I was cooking the chicken in the liquid, I let the liquid reduce like half so I could do more thick sauce. Now we're gonna add the apples. Wow, this is so beautiful. I love it. The sauce has a hint of cinnamon, which the cinnamon that I cook with the broth, cinnamon stick. It has the apple cider. Wow, this is so beautiful. It has asparagus and spinach. You can add broccoli if you want, or you can add just spinach, or you can add just asparagus. You don't have to add both, but these are things that we have in the fridge. So this recipe was inspired by a request and a challenge from Francesca. Francesca told me that she always have apple and chicken breast in her house, and me too. I always have apples and chicken breast in my house. I always have cinnamon. So I only have to buy a few ingredients like the apple cider. And I always have apple juice, and you can even make apple juice from fresh on the apple and use it for instead of apple cider. I'm going to add a teaspoon of vinegar. This will give the sauce a more robust flavor. It's going to cut that, creaminess. I'm going to turn it off. I don't want the sauce to reduce too much. I'm going to add the chives now. I love chives. The chives are family of the onion and the garlic. I'm not going to chop them very small. I want them to also be part of the sauce and the dish. I want them to disappear. Look at this. Isn't this amazing? Of course, if you're not giving a cooking class, you can do this in 20 minutes. Okay, now let's taste. You know that I have to taste. Wow. Wow, this is delicious. I love it. Wow. You should try it. Definitely try it at home. This, take a little piece of the chicken. See if the chicken is cooked. I'm gonna have to check. Always taste your food. Hmm. A little bit of salt. Wow, amazing. It's like sweet and creamy and savory. It's so delicious. You can do it just chicken and apples without putting any other ingredient, any other vegetables. Because some vegetables can change the flavor. So I would recommend you to try it with no vegetables at the beginning. Make the chicken and the cream and the apples alone. Then when you see the taste and the flavor, then you can add other vegetables and taste to see if you like the flavor of those vegetables with this combination. But I really, really like it. Let me taste a little bit of the vegetables with the apple. Let me see. Mm. Mm, 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 mm. Wow. When you eat the apples and the vegetables, so good. So I'm going to start cleaning up and plating. So now we have our apples and vegetables, whatever vegetables you have in the refrigerator. I use asparagus and spinach. And it goes fabulous with a simple farro with some garlic, onion, peppers, and dill. And for dessert, we have an apple and zucchini bread. Let's see this beauty. It has been in the oven for almost an hour. Wow. Take this out. Let's put it in the plate. Wow, look at the crumble. Oh my goodness, what a beauty. You should leave this it completely cool down before you cut it because zucchini and apple are very watery. So you don't want to um, cut it too soon and then let all the egg crumble in your hands. So be patient. It's going to be delicious, I am sure. Be patient before you cut it. I hope you like these recipes that are made with apples and cinnamon and chicken, which are ingredients that I always have in the kitchen. And Francesca, my student, also have in her kitchen. That's why she requested me to do these recipes for her. And I also did a stir fry, which I didn't record it, but I'm going to share the recipe with you if you want. Just ask me, send me an email at chefdulcejimenez@gmail.com. And if you're watching in my YouTube channel, please, please give it a thumbs up, a like, subscribe, come back, share it. I want everyone to be, take advantage of these classes that are sponsored by Healthy Mothers, Healthy Babies, and for everyone, not only for moms to be, but for everyone that wants to eat better, include more real foods, real plant ingredients in their meals, and enjoy them. These dishes are delicious. Sometimes I feel bad to be tasting all of them during the class because I have people participating in my classes and they cannot taste it. But believe me, I always try the dish and they are amazing. Any recipe that I publish and I share is because I have tasted and tested them myself. So thanks a lot for being here with me again. And I hope to see you next month in another cooking class. Good night. Ciao.